Did you know that 88% of all New Year resolutions fail? According to Dr. Asim Shah, professor and executive chair of Menninger Department, Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Baylor College of Medicine. That was a mouthful. Why do I bring this up? Well, it's that time of year. I don't know about you, but recently on my For You pages on basically every social media, there has been nonstop talk about what is your New Year resolution, what are your goals, how much weight are you trying to lose, what are you trying to do. It's just nonstop. And I think it's an important discussion to have, especially since we're still in January right now, and many of you, I imagine, are getting pressure to make these goals and probably make very unrealistic goals that just aren't going to be something you're going to be able to follow through with. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, I think it is important to state that this entire idea of creating all these goals is really just like an overhyped concept. When it gets after the holidays, it's a very trendy thing to talk about your goals or share, hey, this is what I'm doing to lose weight. I know I'm bringing up losing weight a lot, but it's like a major trendy one that a lot of people talk about. But they're like, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to only eat X amount of calories. I'm only going to eat this particular thing. So I'm going to give up meat or something like that. The list goes on and on and on. So in my experience, I truly believe this is just a severely overhyped concept that you need to have these big, huge goals to, while ideally it is a good thing to have good goals that will better your health, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, all that is obviously a very good goal. And most people can agree, yeah, we should try to better ourselves. But this has turned into trendiness. It's trendy to talk about, yeah, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, how many other people are probably in the same boat? So it's super easy for something like this to become trendy because everyone naturally just kind of latches onto it. Everybody, yeah, I could lose a few pounds. It becomes a very easy way to connect with an audience who might be in a similar boat. Now, that's not to say that these tips, like all of them out there, are necessarily bad. Because there are times where they will give genuine good advice, like cutting back on your processed sugar, cutting back on soda, or hey, maybe don't spend a ton of money on this thing that you're not going to do. Like sometimes the advice is something genuine and most people can get behind, and I have no issues with it. The thing is, I feel like especially with the rise of social media, what became something like genuine advice to help other people share your story, share your experiences, has turned into this like big societal pressure. Because now it's not good enough to maybe want to lose, say, 10 pounds. Now it's, no, you got to lose all of it and get super fit with a six-pack and you're just like big gym bro. There's a lot of social pressure that goes into these goals. It went from being, hey, this is what I did that has helped me, maybe it might help you too, to now it's, oh, well, now your ideas, your goals, your New Year's resolutions, well, now they're too boring or they're not good enough or they're too small. You need to think bigger and bigger and bigger. And it just becomes incredibly unrealistic. This very idea of going too hard too quickly is exactly what Dr. Shaw talks about, is that we put our goals up so far. We take the goalpost and move it so far out of our reach that it just feels like a never-ending trial to just come even close enough to touch that goal. Because even if we make a little bit of progress, we just move the goalpost. And as you can imagine, this is obviously going to cause all of us to feel so defeated and tired and burnt out. Because the more we move that post, the less and less achievable it becomes, and it turns into, well, why should I bother taking another step? I'm never going to reach it. And then we ultimately give up on it. And to me, what makes it so bad is because of that feeling. We burn ourselves out so quickly that giving up just feels like the quote-unquote right thing to do when it really isn't. You should always strive to better yourself and better your health. But when we face these kind of obstacles and that social pressure of, no, do more, it's just, it blows out our candles, so to speak. We just don't have the fight in us anymore. And then these people end up going back to bad habits, or they just don't have faith in themselves anymore that they could potentially get there. The human condition, naturally, is a very complicated thing. We naturally want this balance between wanting something to kind of come naturally to us, but we still want that little bit of challenge. Well, when one of those things in the scales just becomes so unbalanced, we lose interest. If it becomes too easy, then it's like, oh, well, this isn't challenging me, I'm bored. If it becomes too hard, then it's, oh my God, I can't possibly do this. Like, why should I even bother? Then that's kind of the whole thing. That's what this whole entire social pressure is so bad, is that it flips the scales so hard one way that it's just too much. And there's only so much any of us can really do about that. It doesn't mean that we are weak or pathetic or anything like that. It's naturally the human condition that when we are faced with such obstacles in front of us, we naturally start feeling in our hearts of this doubt in ourselves and our capabilities. And that's a really heavy thing that we all have to face in life. And these social pressures do nothing but harm that and take advantage of that. What kind of goes hand in hand with all this social pressure to, go big or go home are also like trendy stuff. Because sometimes it's not always just lose X amount of weight, the big typical ones you see. Sometimes there's something kind of new. For instance, a recent trend I noticed on TikTok was a no by 2025, which I think theoretically isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I believe the general premise of it is to save money and to combat overconsumption. Because if you live in a capitalist society, like here I do in the US, we are constantly pushed and pushed and pushed with ads to buy, buy, buy. And the marketing for so much of this, I see it especially in something like video games, for instance, of the FOMO effect, the fear of missing out. Well, you need to buy this because if you want to keep up with everybody else that's playing, well, you need to buy the new DLC. You need to get this skin. You need to get this. Otherwise, you are the weird one for not getting the thing, whatever that thing may be. And for most of the videos I looked at, it was a lot of women who were talking about, hey, instead of going to the salon every month or multiple times a month to get your nails done, maybe lower that to once a month, or maybe just do it at home and learn how to do your nails the way you'd like at home rather than spending that kind of money. And some of these women went as far as like doing the full math of what they spend in a year, and they're just like, oh my goodness, I could have saved all that money. Another example were people talking about, hey, maybe learn to cook at home. Like, here are some cookbooks that really helped me. Or go on YouTube. That's where I learned a lot of my recipes, is on YouTube, and I compile from there. Hey, rather than spending X amount at this expensive restaurant or getting takeout, even if something as McDonald's, hey, here's how you can make it at home, and you'll make it for a fraction of the cost, and you'll get a lot more for your money. And while I do think a lot of these are coming from a really good place of, hey, this is how I saved an extra $1,000 a year or anything of that sort, I do believe it does come from a good place. But some people obviously had to take it to the next level, and they're like, I'm going to stop buying entire, like, almost necessities. And I think that's where a line needs to be drawn. We are fundamentally in a very grindy mindset in the world right now, where if you're not grinding, you're not winning. You've probably heard all variations of that. But here's kind of the thing. We are still human at the end of the day. We need to have some sort of fun. We need to be able to treat ourselves a little bit. And I don't mean this in the sense of go out and max out your credit card or anything like that. Absolutely not. But to say something like, I will not buy Starbucks at all this year, even though I love it because I want to have this no buy. Well, is once or twice really going to hurt you in the grand scheme of things? If something like cutting out Starbucks entirely for a year, it really depends on the individual. If you're buying it every single day, okay, maybe you could learn to make coffee at home. I'm sure you guys have heard that. But if you treat yourself like once a month, or let's say at the end of the work week, you are tired, you are exhausted, You just want that little treat to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, this feels good. There's nothing wrong with that. My father used to tell me something when I was a kid, and let me tell you a little story. We had this John Deere retailer near us, not too far from home, but sometimes, only sometimes, my father would take me there. We would like drive by and he would go over there and he would just look at the tractors. And I would just see my dad have this hopeful look in his eyes and a smile. And one day I asked him, "Hey Dad, I know we don't have the money to buy any of these, so why did we come here?" Me, little kid, I'm been drilled in my head. We don't have the money for X, whatever it is. So seeing him do this kind of confused me. So that's why I asked him. And he looked at me and said, "Everyone has to have a dream. Because sometimes that is the only thing that keeps you going." And these are words that have stuck with me throughout my entire life because everything just kind of clicked. The older I get, the more I understand why my father said that. And I believe it holds such a truth to the human condition that not enough people will talk about. When we're little, we're told to, oh no, what do you want to be when you grow up? We're told it's okay to have them. But then as we get older, we're told to essentially be realistic, drop it, don't even think about it, give up on it, etc., etc. And this is where I want to go back to the trendiness, especially with this no by 2025. I think it's very admirable if you want to save yourself and or your family some money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to get to a point where you are actively denying yourself the smallest of comforts in order to have this clout or bragging rights that, oh, well, I didn't buy any of this. Well, I'm going to genuinely ask, are you okay? Because if this is something you genuinely enjoyed and you just ripped it off, went full cold turkey on it, I'm going to kind of wonder, like, are you doing better without that? Have you found an alternative? How are you? There's got to be a line between the overconsumption of buying stuff you don't need or fundamentally just don't improve anything and getting stuff you genuinely need. I am someone who is terrible at buying shoes. I know it's weird. I'm a woman. It's so weird. But I just have such a thing about shoes of I run them until they are so unbelievably broken and nasty and everything that no amount of cleanup or anything is going to help them. But that's me. For me, that's that's when, my husband comes in and is like, "You're getting new shoes." Like, no arguments, you get new ones. There are things we genuinely do need. I mean, replace when you need to, obviously. There are things we do genuinely need, but there's also a little bit of joy that we need in life as well. And I use something like Starbucks as the example because for the most part, we can make our coffee at home fairly cheaply. You can get a cheap coffee maker. You can buy the cheapest, most awful Maxwell coffee and be okay. But what if you really want that latte? I don't know what you order at Starbucks, but let's say they have something that you can't easily make at home for a variety of reasons. You are still denying yourself a simple comfort in order to reach this no-buy goal that was arbitrarily thrusted in your face of this is what you have to do. There's this sense of guilt that these people push upon you that you got to do this by this date or you got to cut out this for all year, otherwise you have failed the trend, you had failed the challenge. And it pushes this mindset of you are a failure if you don't do this, which in the grand scheme of things is, are you being serious right now? But that's kind of what we feel. We are told this is the challenge, this is the rules, abide by them or be a failure, be a loser. And that is flawed. In simple terms, it is too generalized. It is a big net thrown out there in the vast ocean to try to catch whatever you can. And that's all these trends do, are just trying to get as many people as they can to watch the videos, like it, comment, all that stuff for the engagement. And that's the whole problem. It's too generalized. Every human on this planet has their own struggles, their own things they wish to improve. things need to work on, and you can't use big generalized ideas like that and just say, yeah, you have to do this. That's just not the way it works. We're all in different countries. We speak different languages. We have different economies. We have different financial situations. It's just not viable to do that kind of thing. And I know a lot of these kind of have to, in a way, be generalized in order to reach the max number of people. And obviously, as I said before, there are some things that I think could apply to most people. Like, hey, here's a tip of how I saved a little money. Or, hey, I did this and I lost some weight because I cut out soda or something. Those ideas aren't bad, and they can apply to a lot of people. But again, it goes into there has to be a line in the sand. And this is where I also notice, on top of the typical trends that you see, on top of the no buy 2025, I also saw another one that I saw a variation of the names, but some people call them vision boards or bingo cards. And the whole idea, from what I've understood, is that you make yourself a little chart, a bingo sheet, and you write down things you want to achieve throughout the entire year. And the whole goal of it is to try to reach bingo. And obviously, the more you get, the better. But the idea is get something of these goals, and you have the whole year to do it. I feel like, in a way, that one is a little better. Instead of it being a whole wide net for a bunch of people, it turns into you're throwing out a net of your own little pond. You are making these goals specific to you and your needs and whatever you want to achieve in a visual way. And you can make these boards as pretty or as simple as you wish. The whole point of it is customize it to you, and don't give yourself some crazy end dates of, okay, I have to have this by the end of February, let's say. Out of all the trends I have seen in recent years, I feel like this one has been the most personalized of an idea and more focused on the individual, which I would say, at least in my personal experience from what I saw, this was by far the quote-unquote healthiest trend I saw this year. And that is my overall point, is that if you are going to make these goals, they need to be about you, your goals, what you want to achieve for yourself. Don't be reaching for the stars, past the moon and everything. What helps you? It's what can you do in a very realistic setting given your circumstances. And that is what any sort of New Year's resolution needs to be. It needs to be about you and you only. Maybe you have some motivation of, I don't know, you want to quit smoking because you want to better your health, but also your family has wanted you to quit. Something like that. It can also be motivation from your loved ones as well. But ultimately, it should be about you and what is good for you. So don't hop on these trends and just be spoon-fed all these promises of, oh, if you follow my rules, you'll get what you want. Don't do that. You need to make it about you, set realistic goals, and you will feel much, much better. And at least according to Dr. Shah, you are way more likely to succeed in those goals as long as you give yourself realistic, manageable goals that you can achieve. I hope something in this video helped you, or at least gave you a different perspective of all these trendy New Year's resolutions. But if you do end up having some goals yourself, please let me know in the comments below. I do want to hear them. I genuinely wish you all the absolute best. Let's make this year better, even if it's on the tiniest scale of cutting back on your Starbucks, as we are often told. Just do it for you, is all I ask. Just make these resolutions about you and bettering yourself, as that is something we all must do. Take care, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. If you found this content entertaining, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it helps me grow on this platform. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.